All right, no one asked, but I want to know. Is this little thing worth it? What is this little thing? Well, this is a standalone bobbin winder. It claims to be universal, although of course there's no such thing as truly universal in sewing machines, but we'll see. And I was motivated enough to go out and buy one of these, partly because I noticed the price had come down a lot from when I was looking maybe 8 years ago. But then also 3 of my beginning sewing students all brought the same sewing machine to class that sews pretty well, but just does not wind a bobbin well at all. It's super frustrating. If you can't get a good bobbin, you can't sew very well. So I thought I'll spend a little bit of money and test this thing out and see if it will be something I might recommend to students who have a machine that doesn't wind bobbins very well. Alright, now as I mentioned, there's no such thing as truly universal, but this is designed to work with Class 15 and Class 15J bobbins, which does cover a lot of different kinds of sewing machines. Will not work with a touch and sew or anything that has a really kind of unusual bobbin. But yeah, let's try it. So this comes with both a power adapter and it can also be used on battery. And of course they're like, oh, that means you can use it anywhere. And I'm like, who's winding bobbins for sewing machines where they don't have electricity? But in any case, I guess it's kind of nice to have both options. I definitely wanted one that I could plug into the wall. So yeah, let's see if I can figure this thing out. Guys, such is my commitment. I not only bought this little guy, I bought actual new bobbins. As noted, Class 15 bobbins. I believe these can be either plastic or metal. I will double check that. But all right, you don't have to watch me do this, I guess. My first note is that the start button is not a stop button. It says it's an on-off button, but either I'm not doing it hard enough or... Let's try that again, I guess. This has to click this way so that will start. No. Okay, so at least on mine, the on-off button is only an on button. And to turn it off, you do have to either allow the bobbin to fill, which will move this guy, or you just move this up. Now, first of all, my thread has jumped the guide, so this may not be a fair test. And this is not winding evenly. You can see it's winding faster on the bottom. I'm going to zoom in. Woo. Winding faster on the bottom than on the top, which may indicate that the tension should be adjusted, and may also indicate that it jumped the guide pretty early in the process. So let me try that again. Still winding too much to the bottom, so I'm going to try increasing the tension. I have to remember to move this. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so it is designed to stop when that hits that point, so I'm going to try one more time with a higher tension and see if I can get a good bobbin. Again, just to be clear, this is a bobbin and there is thread on it, but this is not what I would consider a good bobbin. It's wound unevenly. There's more thread on the bottom than on the top, so that might lead to stitching problems later on. Well, it is fast, I'll give it that. Failing fast at least. Okay. Fourth time's a charm. Okay, so I think some of it is that this isn't getting, normally when I start to wind a bobbin, I, do kind of a slow roll for a certain number of turns to kind of help lock this thread in. And I'm not able to do that, so I'm going to do that manually. Okay, hopefully that's enough. Okay, so that has a little tension on it. Hopefully I turned it the right way. We'll find out. Okay. What keeps happening is this little guide back here keeps becoming a hook and catching the thread to keep it from moving forward. So that's not ideal. Let me see if I can work around that somehow. Yeah, so same problem. Now it's just jumping the guide all together. in some, okay, so I think the tension might be too tight now, and that's what's causing this. This has totally jumped that guide, so I'm gonna, that keeps it from turning on. So if you're messing with it, you might want to do that to keep it, you can actually hear it click. Okay, so this is actually why you don't want loose threads hanging after you have wound your bobbin, because in winding this, in trying to wind off of this bobbin onto another bobbin, the original kind of loose tail from this bobbin kind of got free and caused a tangle, which, you know, at this stage is annoying, but if it were in your sewing machine could actually be a real problem for your machine. I do kind of wish there was a way to make it go slower. All right, so this time I'm trying, I've kind of wound the very first bit by hand, and then I'm trimming that end, and then now this is ready to go, and we will see what it does. Verdict. Not the worst bobbin. Still not a perfect bobbin. So I'm going to try increasing the tension a little bit and winding off the actual spool instead of from bobbin to bobbin. All right, so I've got my original spool. I've got it facing the way the instructions have it facing. I've got it going through the guide. I'm going through the tension. I've wound this around a little bit so that it's got something to hang on to besides me. It's in the on position. Whew. All right, fingers crossed. Okay, again, what's gone wrong is the guide that is supposed to kind of make sure everything goes smoothly is really sharp, so it keeps snagging the thread. Okay, so that's actually looking pretty good. This bobbin, I'm gonna try with another bobbin. All right, verdict on this bobbin in the end, it's not too bad. Gonna try another one and make sure this one wasn't a fluke. Look, if I'm doing this 18 times, you're gonna see it 18 times. All right, so again, here's the process I think might work. I'm gonna thread the bobbin. Boop. I'm gonna manually wind the bobbin for, you know, a few inches. Winding it kind of, if I looked at it from the top, I'm winding it counterclockwise. And once I feel like I have that anchored, I'm going to put it on the spindle. And then I need to turn it a little more to get it nice and make sure there's no slack. That's what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to trim. Well, I can trim that later. Move this to the wind position. Make sure everything else seems good. Now, one note, even if yours works better for you right out of the box, this is extremely lightweight. That is actually one of the complaints I've seen about it online. It could be when it has batteries that it's more balanced, but you do kind of have this feeling that it's this very flimsy, lightweight thing. So just, you know, if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, you're not going to love this device no matter what. All right, here goes. Now, my first sign of trouble is when I see that thread coming loose. That means that I'm not actually getting any winding. Let me change my procedure a little bit. Alright, so on top of winding it on a little bit, I am still gonna just gently hang on to that for as long as is practical. And on top of the not great bobbins I'm getting, I'm also a little nervous because frankly it does smell like the motor is working too hard. So we'll see, maybe the motor will just burn itself out, you know, in a week. Alright, I figured out why it's smelling. Some of my thread has been wrapped around there, which is not great, so gotta fix that. Honestly guys, I give up. This thing is horrible. Now, I recorded this next bit of footage to show that I can actually wind a bobbin. And this is using my Singer 301, and one of the things I love about the 301 is you don't need to unthread the machine before you wind your bobbin. You just have to unthread the needle, and then you can just wind your bobbin, and isn't that lovely? And you do still occasionally have to kind of manage it and look at it and make sure things are winding well, but it's just nice. Okay, honestly, this is a whole other reason to just keep your vintage machine around, because even if you want the convenience factor, the multiple stitches, everything else that your newer machine can do for you, that's great. But honestly, you could probably pick up a used vintage sewing machine for only a little bit more than a bobbin winder like this. and you would have something that actually works. Again, I'm not going to say definitively that I know these are all like this. I know, however, I was just not able to get the results that I wanted from messing with it, and now I've got to fix it. So yeah, that's. I really wanted this to work. I really wanted to be able to bring a solution to my students that wasn't just, hey, let's get out my machine and wind your bobbins, which is what I did last week. So, I don't know. Oh my gosh. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks so much for coming. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Either way, glad you're here and hope to see you soon.